different because I am concerned that we have a very transit population in Houston and across America, but the healthcare professionals have made a determination that that fluid population doesn't impact necessarily one way or the other how we should be responding to this disease that has confronted us. Dr. Persse, you mentioned the PPEs and that stuff. Now we know some of that stuff is old stuff. Some of it is allocations that were issued some time ago, and I think the shelf life has expired on some of it, and some of it's probably beyond the life. So my concern is how much new allocation have we been able to acquire, and specifically as it relates to protocol regarding I'm concerned about those first responders, particularly in the field of public safety personnel. Do they have within me one more little tag on that, then I'll yield? Because you mentioned in your presentation, if I described correctly here, you said that you had gone through the pace with all the equipment that we had available. So my question is, do we have all the equipment that we need? If not, what else is needed, please?
So thank you for the question. So when I said that, we went through on each, I'm speaking just for the fire department right now because I know their situation better than the police department, for example. So in each apparatus, every ambulance, every squad, every fire truck, there is a large orange Pelican case, and inside of it are 4 Tyvek suits with multiple sets of gloves and booties and tape and respirators and so on and so forth. So that's what we have, that's what we've had for years. It's pretty durable. It may be beyond its shelf life. When I looked through it, I couldn't find an expiration date on it, but I'm sure somebody, you know how manufacturers are, I'm sure there's an expiration date on it somewhere. They look to me to be pretty durable and in pretty decent shape. So that's what we use. The problem with that situation is that it is very cumbersome and time consuming to put it on. And so, and we only have what's limited. We've only got, so each Pelican case has 4 suits in it, and there's 1 per vehicle, and we have a very small amount left on the shelf. So if we start seeing a lot of cases, we're going to run through that pretty quick. So the fire department just this week took delivery of another 900 full-body suits that are much more easy to put on. And they zip out the front, and you can put them on much more quickly. They're a lot more user-friendly than what we've had historically. Again, I'm concerned that if we start seeing a lot of cases, and remember, in the pre-hospital environment, we don't really know what we're dealing with. So it's entirely foreseeable that there will be cases where we're going to wear all this gear, consume that gear, and then an hour later get some more accurate information to find out we didn't really need to, but nevertheless we'll go on through the gear. So I don't know what the consumption rate is going to be. I worry that we're going to need more, and I'm also worried that there's a run on this from the suppliers, and that we're going to be competing with a lot of other folks to get it. And so we've got folks right now that are trying to answer those questions.
Well, certainly areas such as Houston with a large international population, because we have a pretty significant international airport here, and that travel has not been restricted. So have we established the proper protocols so maybe the Houston, the Chicago's, the New York's, Miami's, and et cetera, that we can have priority status if we need to subscribe to additional supplies and equipment?
Right, and I've been in conversation with the CDC about that, and they've got something coming out I'm really not at liberty to discuss, but they are discussing exactly the question you're asking. They've got discussions going on right now about cities beyond the 5 that they're now screening at.
Okay, the last question. What should we tell city personnel as it relates to reporting protocol? There are a lot of people who work in close proximity, and it may be just, fall flu symptoms. But what should the employee sitting in the cubicle, down the way that thinks that, wow, is this plain flu over here, or is it something else going on? What should that employee do if he or she are not experiencing symptoms themselves, but they may be concerned or afraid that it may be John or Mary or Elizabeth over the next cubicle that may be exhibiting something?
So the big thing now to separate out somebody who has a fever or symptoms from something we're concerned about from someone who isn't, really is the question of where have you been, were you in those 3 countries, and what were you doing while you were in those 3 countries? So right now, if somebody has a fever and they were in one of those 3 countries, that meets the case definition for somebody we need to be concerned with and that we would probably isolate in the hospital and start testing on. But they need to have been from one of those 3 countries. And so that's the big thing right now. If somebody hasn't been, if they could have even been in Africa. Remember, Africa's a huge continent, and we're talking about a relatively small part of it. So if somebody's been in Angola or South Africa or wherever, it's not a concern. It's just those 3 countries right now.
Dr. Persse, Dr. Wood, thank you for your presentation. Thank you.